Okay, this is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service, and earlier today I put up a universal fish catching machine, the gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. Now, as we all know, bugs go through their life changes, so they start off as a nymph, and then they come up into adulthood, and just before they come out, as they're coming up through the water column, they're represented by wet flies. So I am going to build a gold-ribbed hare's ear wet. It's tied almost exactly the same as the gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. So I'm again with the Flymaster 140 denier. I apologize in advance that this isn't maybe as zoomed in as one might hope it would be, but I just learned that my phone doesn't have the ability to zoom in any closer. So I'm using a number 6 hook so that you can see it, because the 8 hook that I used on the gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph, a buddy of mine sent me a note, said, hey, it's great, but we're having a hard time seeing what you're doing. So this is the best I can do right now, Bob. So for tailing, again, what you're looking for here is not tail filaments, but like a trailing shuck. Okay, so for this, I'm going to use a piece of wool yarn. I'm going to take a wire brush. I'm going to brush it out. And then I'm going to put it on there. Now, what I like to do, especially when I'm using yarn and it's a wet fly, like we discussed before, yarn is very cotton. Wool yarn is very hygroscopic, so it sucks water, and I am going to use the rotate feature of my vise. I got this thing so far. Look at that, it doesn't want to. I'm going to have to put the vise up a little bit. Yeah, you can still see it. And then I can put that down. So, wow. This thing's kicking my tail. Alright, so anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna... This isn't really a requirement. I just, kind of go with the it can't hurt philosophy. Yeah, this is just really not cooperating. Okay, so there's my trailing shuck. Gold rib. Back, still using the same gold rib that I used on the nymph. And my dubbing. Same dubbing that I used on the nymph. Again, no wax. Just put a little saliva on the thread. You got some on your fingertips from putting some on the thread. Put it on in little wisps. See, just a little itty bitty bit. I actually use these with quite a bit of effect in my my pond here in my development. I got 6 ponds that I fish bass in, and these are pretty effective on the bass in this size 6. I'm sure it looks like a bait fish to them with all the once the hackle goes on this, it's pretty flowing. It's huge. And a size 6, I can't really say that this represents an emerging mayfly. I mean, unless you're fishing a green drake hatch, which they're pretty big, but your standard mayfly doesn't. Why is this thing still moving around? Your standard mayfly doesn't really get this big. I know they grow them pretty big out west. So there's my body. I counter wrap my ribbing. Not everybody counter wraps their ribbing, but I do. I kind of feel like it secures better when it's counter wrapped. And by that I mean this part right here. See how the thread is going to go away from me and the wire is coming towards me? Kind of feel like I get my wire is better secured. Get my wire scissors out here. All right. Now comes the fun part. So this is pelt off a pheasant hen. Shot that myself. Excuse me. Snip the fluff off. Save the fluff for later because fluff makes good dubbing and it has other uses. Then you're going to turn the feather so that the point is in your bobbin hand and the bottom of the quill is in your non-bobbin hand. You're going to grab the point and you're going to stroke the fibers back. Alright? So it kind of looks like a Christmas tree. And then, using the pinch wrap method, got to pinch the material, pinch the hook, pinch the thread, pull it down. Pinch the thread, pinch the material, pinch the hook, pull it down. And then once you've done that, and you got it good and secure, trim that part there off, get your hackle pliers, wet your fingers, stroke the fibers back, give it a turn, keep stroking the fibers back. There's one complete turn. There's two complete turns. There's three, well, 2 3/4. Bring your thread up to hold that stem down. So see how I left plenty of room for my head? This is a Mustad 3906B. It's a little longer shank, but again, I wanted it to be big so that you could see it. Sure everything gets good and covered up. Sometimes you get a straight feather fiber. Now you don't have to use the wool yarn like I did for a shuck. You can use about whatever you want. Just there's a lot of folks that use ice fur as a shuck. Nice ice fur. You can use that as a shuck. You just want something. Now remember, this wet fly is only going to be in the strike zone for so many seconds. So the fish is only going to get so many seconds to look at it. So it's a matter of suggest. You want to suggest legs. You're suggesting a body. You're suggesting a shuck. And it's up in the film, so it's kind of distorted. And, you know, you're giving it a wiggle so that it's coming to life. And all these fibers are moving around in the current of the water and looking very alive. This wool shuck, when it's wet, see how the fibers all slick back? When that's wet and it's in the current, it's gonna move. So that shuck is that nymphal skin that's hanging off the back of the adult as it's trying to come up through the surface. So gold-ribbed hares here, wet. Real simple, deadly effective. This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. You can find me on either put Custom Tyer or customtyer01, Fly Tying Basics by George. Thank you. Happy tying.